CPU usage. It shoots through the roof.
Yeah. Okay, so we're sending stuff. We're getting it.
Awesome.
Oh, cool, 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 cool. All right, so
Yeah.
now it should just be, I can probably full screen that if we want to do that. I don't know.
Just crop me out. You're
So
just sitting in a room.
so the only thing that's gonna suck is now you're on the other side of my screen from my computer, which I did very stupidly, but whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, cool.
No
So,
problem.
um,
I know
oh
how it
man,
is.
this is very interesting. Okay, so let me get a share link for this. I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
tweet it.
Perfect. I'll be ready on the Twitter sphere.
Copy. Oh, I think I actually need to start sending this via or start streaming. Oh no, I am streaming. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool.
Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna go into. Did you get that?
Already retweeted.
Oh yes. Okay, I gotta switch gears now. Gotta go into retweet that from React Podcast.
Wait, you're the React podcast? Does Twitter know this? We have 2 accounts?
Oh man, taking advantage of the system. Oh man, look at that. Look at that image. Just
Yeah, it's a Drost effect. Have you been to that subreddit?
No.
Let's see.
All right.
There you go. I'll happily reply. There you go. I'm helping.
Okay.
And when I say I'm helping, I'm never actually.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, this will be interesting because this is definitely different from what we
Yeah.
usually do. I'm a little bit nervous. I've
Good. That means we're doing something right.
I've never once had a React podcast episode with an audience. So this will be fun. Even I think actually I take that back. There was one episode I did with Sunil, and we did it in my hotel room at ReactConf, and Michael Jackson was just kind of in the background, just chilling out.
What year?
That was this last year, yeah. So it was just a year ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a shame. We're all gonna have a big gap in all of our conference.
I know.
Continuality. My actually, I keep all the badges from my comps right here on the wall as motivation, and it's been stagnant. It's the exact same size, even though this year of virtualness, I have I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm talking to all these different places, and it's great. But then I'm like, hey, where's the people? Where's the communication? Where's the hallway track?
Totally. That is the thing that's missing. So let's talk about that. So let's actually get set up real quick so we don't miss anything.
You got it.
What I'll do is I'm gonna open up. It's so funny. I only have one screen set up right now, so everyone's gonna see this. But I'm gonna open up Audacity and I'm gonna just record my side.
Locally.
Yep.
Yep.
And then if we can get something set up for you too, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I think I usually just for guests, I usually just use QuickTime unless there's something that you feel more comfortable with. You're free to record with whatever you're liking.
Yeah, I wrote my own voice recorder in COBOL. I'm just gonna use that.
You know, if anyone was gonna do it, I believe that it's you. So
I am recording on my side.
awesome, perfect, perfect. Let's see. A couple things is, I mean, you're no stranger to the podcast thing, so obviously, like silence is the easiest thing to edit. It might be a little bit silly for anyone listening, but and then if you want to take any or watching, I guess, but if you want to take anything over again, just say, hey, I'd like to take it over again, and
yeah,
Mikhail will cut the first take out. So, okay, I think we're good. I have Zoom recording as a backup. And should be good. Okay, cool. Let me get a little notepad open real quick.
This is my notepad. It's open all the time.
Nice. I like that unicorn pencil. Yeah,
yes, indeed.
You know, it's funny. I usually do a notepad. Mine's back here. But I was realizing like it's basically just full of React podcast notes at this point, and they get published to the internet in a better form, right? Because they're like actual links instead of just like link this thing. And so I was like, why am I filling up a notebook with stuff that's like totally unnecessary? So I'm trying from the iPad today because then I can just delete it and not waste a tree or something.
Oh, I can tell you, like, mine's ridiculous. If I flip, I'm just gonna flip back randomly. What the hell was I doing? I wrote Todd Sword Solar. I don't know what this means. I don't know what's happening. You can see me go through various pens. It just gets ridiculous. I apparently found a stamp that says "really," and I stamped the book right there.
Everything, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, just. Probably better than what I've got. None of this makes sense.
I could use a really stamp. Can I put that on pull requests? Really?
Yeah. Yes. Perfect.
Cool. So I think the things that I thought would be fun to talk about today would be first and foremost, I think, you know, talking about just kind of like what we started on, which was the kind of like streaming and the digital conferencing and kind of remote.
I love it.
Stuff. I think that'd be fun. And I'd love to talk with you about AI because I know it's something that I know nothing about, and I think it'd be fun to point people in the direction of all of the amazing stuff that you've been making.
I promise to be fun with AI. We will tell. I locked the math tutor out. We're secure here for another hour.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's see. You can hear me all right. I can hear you. I think we're probably ready to go. Record on all the places we need to.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then is there anything specific that you want to say? I guess make sure you say at some point, just so I can lead that in.
Okay, you actually cut out right there, and I don't know if it was me or if it was you.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if there was anything that you wanted to, actually give me two minutes or less than a minute. I'm actually going to plug in my Ethernet now that I'm like streaming, because usually it's just like this thing, but like streaming.
It doesn't matter because you've got independent recording. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just a second.
No worries. I'm just going to admire the books in the background in the meantime.
You're going to keep all of our guests entertained?
Yeah, that'd be. Let me see if I could. I'll see if I could do that. Let me see. All right. I attached all my watches together to make a belt. It was a waste of time. There you go. I can hear them laughing. They love this. They love it. Make another belt joke? Sure, no problem. I pointed at the 3 stars that made Orion's belt. What a waste of space. A waste of space. That's not as good of a joke as the watch one. I think I give that one 3 stars.
I have this amazing. Sorry.
Yeah. I can let me know if you need me to buy any more time. I've got it.
I have this
Dad
amazing.
jokes all the way.
Oh man. I have this amazingly crappy house. Or not crappy house. I have an amazingly old house with like crappy wiring and everything. And it's super funny. I have to like run an Ethernet cable from my uh office to my kids' room.
Yeah.
Is this gonna work?
I was fortunate enough to buy this house in absolute trash condition,
Uh-huh.
which meant that I got to rip all the walls out and
Oh,
then run Ethernet.
that's the way to do it. You know, it's
Yeah,
so
they're
funny.
perfect.
It's so funny. Like I feel like in the 90s there was this big trend for like putting networks in like new construction, and they don't
Huh,
do it anymore. Like my parents had this amazing network in their house, and
huh,
you know all the rooms were wired up into this like one big switch in like the master
yeah,
bedroom. It was awesome. And man, I just like Wi-Fi has continued to suck. And I would
yeah,
love to just have networking again. Just like give me a cable into all these rooms. Like I want it to be fast
right.
and like just wire it up.
Yeah, I don't get why. I mean, I guess maybe people don't justify the cost, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's super easy, especially when the walls are out. And then here's the other thing: is that people are perfectionists with wires in their entertainment. So
Yeah.
we actually run through the wall for my TV. I actually have a little hole
Oh
for the
yeah.
HDMI, and then so you see nothing, and
Yes.
then the HDMI comes back out. It's just so that you'd see nothing on a floating TV, and
It's
it's a little
glorious.
like, yeah, it's grandiose in the scale, but people really care about that, and keeping their entire entertainment setup wire free,
Yeah.
and it's like I can't imagine why we don't have that in everything. And, although I live here in the South, I'm in New Orleans. So the unfortunate part here is that as soon as it gets hot, no one wants to get in anyone's attic at all. It's pretty much a death sentence here.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's brutal. I mean, I feel like attics are bad anywhere, but yeah, up in
Ugh,
the south, that's yeah.
yeah.
You don't want to be up there for any reason ever.
No, 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 it's not. As a matter of fact, I have one of those thermal guns that shows
Oh
me
yeah.
like I get uh you know predator vision or terminator vision or
Mm-hmm.
something. I just kind of point it around my house, and
Terminator
then I
vision.
accidentally pointed up at the ceiling, and it's like, that's just heat. Welcome to the heat.
Just trapped heat. We don't want
Yeah.
none of you.
It I've recessed lights and they all have halos of heat pouring out of them. I'm like, that light's off.
Just heat coming, just sneaking through.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Ready to go?
Indeed.
Okay, cool. In 3, 2, 1. Gant Laborde. Welcome to React Podcast.
Good to be here. Happy to be here.
Hey, so first and foremost, I just have to say thank you because Infinite Red has been like a huge sponsor of the show, making the show
Oh yeah,
possible.
yeah,
These things don't happen by themselves, and
yeah.
and I know that you've been instrumental in just kind of
Yeah.
making sure that you continue to support the show. And so I just wanted to say, having you on, thank you. Um,
Oh yeah. Thank you for let me just say that we love finding ways to kind of give back to the community. We love finding, artistic and creative instances. But this has been one of the podcasts that we've continued to fund because it keeps sending people our way.
oh,
So
nice.
kudos to you as well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's good, and I'm glad that people are getting help
Yeah.
from you because you guys are just really doing some cool stuff. Really good
Thank you.
experts in the industry and kind of keeping track of all the technology and how to help people kind of bring their vision to life. And so it's
Yeah.
good little partnership.
Yeah, it's rewarding. It's rewarding work.
Now, before we kind of actually jumped on the official part of this call, we were talking about streaming stuff and
Yes.
just kind of how the world has changed so much,
Hmm.
like in the last year, and kind of all of the ways that it's required people who people like yourself who have
Yeah.
traveled the world, giving a lot of talks, kind of engaging with people in a certain way. You've had to totally change the way that all works. Um,
Yeah.
and we kind of naturally fell into this gear talk, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to start with that. I think we'll probably talk about AI a little bit later, but
Yeah.
what are you like? How has this year been different from previous years for you as someone who's regularly going out into the world, kind of engaging people via conference and whatnot?
Yeah, I can tell you specifically one of the things that we used to do. I wasn't in a lot of sales calls for a while, and you sort of my presence was get a pretty good camera, get a pretty good microphone, and you're good. As a person motivating a team, you don't have to do too much more.
Sure.
But I started finding that now that we exist in this is
Yeah.
just our reality.
Yeah.
Like all day I'm staring at stuff. It's really gone up in value. This is
Yes.
where all the eyeballs are. This is where if you put a little bit more time and energy into your production, your value, your microphone, your lighting. As you can see, those in the podcast, just imagine the most beautiful palace in the world. But those of you on video, you can see like I have special lighting for my background now.
Yeah.
Just all these different ways that have actually kind of stepped up my game. It really does make a big,
It
big
does.
difference in sales and in virtual conferences,
Yeah.
man. Like it's just so fun. I mean, we could be in a chat now, and I'm just like, wow. And to get Owen Wilson in there, and, like if you make a good point, I want to be able to like being able to do that increases the bandwidth of this. Like take advantage. I would never have that available in person, but now I can have all the toys.
I think those might be the first sound effects on React podcasts. So
I did. I've opened the curse.
You've opened.
No one's supposed to open that. It's too late. Now it's even worse. I did it. I'm in trouble now.
So I'm curious, like, what is that like? Like, obviously you've gone through and I've done the same. And so we're kind of talking about a lot of gear,
Yes.
and I totally agree that, this is like, everyone jokes about how you can now, like, you can show up for a meeting in like just a shirt, right? Like you don't have to wear pants.
Right.
And I think that in one way, yes, we've been able to kind of like remove, like, you don't have to wear a suit anymore, right? You can kind of,
Right.
everything, the expectations are a little bit different, but the technology involved in how you present yourself and how you're heard via a microphone and all that kind of stuff has our expectation is like rapidly going up for that, and I find that super interesting. I'm curious, kind of as you have done that kind of at the level that you've been doing it, what's some of the gear that you've found a lot of success with, and then also like some of the stuff that you're eyeballing for people who also want to present themselves better in their sales meetings or their virtual team meetings, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I could say like you've always got fantastic audio. Like when your audio comes through, I imagine you've got some tricks, maybe even have some software EQ and give it just a little bit of reverb or something. There's something about giving, I'll admit, first things first. Hey, everybody, I'm Gant. I do not have an amazing voice. My voice is far from something where people would say, wow. But a lot like my voice, my name is that you could spot my voice from across the room. And that's sort of like what I want to collect that. I want somebody who I met at a conference to say, I think I know that dude. Or, I heard this talk. I want that to come through crystal clear. So I switched from one of those, the Blue Yeti, which is this USB. You don't have to worry about it. You just set up and everything's kind of nice. And you put it on cardioid for your chat and you start chatting. It was really awesome to have that for a while. And, you always have this premise. You could always buy a guitar and play into it as well, or whatever kind of pipe dreams come along with every microphone packaging. But then I was like, my trick here is my voice, my communication with you. And so then I invested in an actual real voice specific microphone, which is what I have now. And it stays directly out of frame because I don't like it to distract, but right underneath my actual video frame. Yeah, it does look cool. I mean, you gotta admit, when you have something like that, it does show. It's a little bit of, what is it like? it's a little bling bling, right? That
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
showing.
Oh, absolutely.
If I could, I'd be like, oh yeah, this, and then actually I have a lot of cool things I wish I could show, like the Yamaha DAC and the Stream Deck and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which we can probably get into. But what I really like about this is that my voice, whatever body it has, whatever character it has, it's coming through.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you've spoken to me in person, it feels like you're speaking to me now. And my inflections, my voice, it's there. And I think that's great because we kind of need that human connection right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So letting that through is pretty important.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's it's so funny because people come up to me at conferences and they're like, well, actually, they come up to me at conferences and they're like, you sound kind of like the React podcast host, but you sound drunk because they're all used to because
Do you
everyone.
speed up these podcasts when it's like you're like 1.2 speed and no one actually knows?
Well, no, everyone just listens on 2x, so they're listening
Oh.
like super fast, and they're like they hear me in person, and I just sound like I've like it, just very much slower. So yeah, because I'm not really a fast talker for the most part. I kind of draw things out a little bit. Um, but yeah, so
uh,
that's always kind of like a funny thing. Like people recognize the voice, but the speed is like, well, you sound like a slow version of that guy.
I'm just waiting for somebody to come tell me like I thought you were taller or something like that. I hear that. I hear that's when you've made it. So
Yeah. I thought you were taller.
I've leaned into the voice. I've leaned into the video. I've leaned into being able, and then of course my characteristics. Probably the time I should spend into purchasing something a little bit more like sound dampening or higher
Mm,
quality or better lighting. Actually, I've really played with my lighting a lot. I've written 2 blog posts, by the way, about
nice.
exactly this.
We'll have to
So
link those.
on the Google Developer Expert blog, I published improve virtual video and improve your virtual presence audio, and those are 2 great things because a whole bunch of experts were really just confused on what to do, and I was like, hey, here's my path forward. I documented it all. Check it out,
Yeah.
and it's been really nice. But now I spend a lot of time figuring out how to make things more silly,
The little
and
sirens
therefore
and
I bring
whatnot.
the sound effects. Yeah.
So what are you using, I guess right now for your lighting effects and then also
Yep.
for your soundboard?
Yeah. So for lighting right now, I've got my classic is I bought this barn door kind of old style light that I hooked
Oh,
up
cool.
to my Amazon Echo, and I used to turn on, and that was like the full amount of my lighting every day. It was giving me lighting from one side. And then I've stepped it up since then. I got the Elgato like key light,
Yep.
and that's
That's what
doing
I'm
my
using
left
right
side. So
now.
my wimpy one is now my secondary light. My key light is the Elgato, and I've got it all like wrapped right here into an interface so I can turn them on and off. Everybody
Nice.
who's watching the videos, seeing some stuff happening.
That is,
And then the last piece of it is that I don't have a lot of space in my house, so I had to spice up what I had. And so I painted my door red and got some RGB LED lights
nice.
and just toss those behind me, and I can turn those on at any time and turn into hypervision.
That's so sweet. Yeah, I love your setup. I think that maybe for anyone listening to this over
Thanks.
audio, we'll probably have to like do a screenshot or something like that so they can kind of
Oh
see
yeah.
see what you're rocking because it's really nice.
Thanks, man. One of the things I think is really cool is I turned to my team and I said, "What's off?" They're like, "Can you move that stupid bin behind your head?" I said, "No, I cannot. That is basically overflow from having a kid." And they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, you need some symmetry brought back. So paint that white door red and do this and do that." And I just kind of like chat with my team, and
Interesting.
we're really open about it. And someone will be like, "You know what you need? This." And I just keep adding different things. And over time, anything that you consistently wake up and think about becomes your reality. And that's just how it's ended up here.
This is interesting because it's kind of like, using our analogy, it's kind of like the modern suit, I guess. But like you would
Yes.
you would never like say to someone like, "Oh, hey, like your suit is jacked, like you need to do like another color," right? But like it's way less personal when, when it's like your room, right? Like,
Yeah.
"Hey, your door, you gotta, like spice that up a little bit." I
Right.
like
It
that.
comes back to the why on
Hmm.
why were people wearing suits? You didn't. It was no way for you to sniff them on Facebook or like to go watch their profile. You kind of had to do a cold read,
Yeah.
and a cold read is suits, and it says like this is success. I can take care of myself, and I can take care of you, is what it used to say in some weird primitive regard, I assume. And now having this is my technical suit. This is like, hey, if I want to make something a little bit better, I can do that. And
Yeah.
that's a good analogy.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious, as you're doing these virtual conferences, have you come across like some really good, for people who are listening to this, they have a meetup,
Hmm.
they have some kind of event that they'd like to continue on. Have you found pieces of software that work better for these live events than others? Things that they should avoid? Um,
Yes.
I know, like for us
Yes.
right now, we have, my company has like a meetup, and they've been trying to figure out how to go virtual, but like the tooling can be really difficult, and it's
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so what has worked well for you as kind of a guest and a speaker?
Yeah. I can tell you 1,000%. Here you go. Conferences who are trying to recreate conferences online are failing. They're not failing. There's just it's like everything's at 80%
Hmm.
of what you want. And so you're not getting anything. You're not leaning you're wearing you're wearing the wrong virtual suit, you know. You're trying to get a hallway track, you're trying to get exclusive Q&A with a speaker, and so you've got stages, people can migrate between stages. It feels very lonely.
Hmm.
We've forgotten the humanity in trying to mimic a giant conference center. And I will say quite specifically, my favorite online conferences have been the ones that group people together and get excuses to agitate and get people together. One of the advantages you can have at a virtual conference is the ability to absolutely talk during the conference. You can't do that in
Yeah.
person. Like it's kind of rude, if you're
Right.
just sitting there having a whole conversation during it. What I love during these virtual conferences is the chat going crazy. You need
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who's fun, you need a meme master, you need some energy, and you need to pump everybody into the same spot so that someone's like, I don't want to miss what they're going to say about this
Yeah.
person. Characters are built and destroyed in the chat alongside these virtuals. And I think that when you're trying to make this giant space, because you have infinite space on the internet, you're putting too much distance. And I've seen some really cool conferences try to do some really cool stuff and have four technological hiccups, but pull off this really grandiose thing.
Yeah.
And no one really ever left there meeting a new person or having a new
Sure.
favorite talk. Um, but then there were some conferences that were basically like, here's the Zoom URL and here's the Discord chat. And it was amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's really interesting because it feels a lot more at that point like the value of live streaming. You
Mhm.
see, you go onto Twitch and you hit any of the trending channels, and it's like, it's maybe a topic that you're not necessarily interested in, but like seeing that chat just like
Yeah.
fly by and seeing all the
Yeah.
excitement, like it gets you hyped.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. It's like some kind of, you know what it is? There's a reason why TV shows still have a laugh track, right? We all know those people who were recording that laugh were recorded in the 70s. Half of them are dead. Like no one, like I know when to laugh, but there's something community, there's some oxytocin that gets
Yeah.
released by hearing a group of people having a good time. It's why I could listen to a track of just people having a great evening at a coffee shop and it can make me feel a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think that we need to think more on that front. We need to think more human because that's where I'm really having my most fun with these online
Yeah.
conferences. I'm really having a blast meeting somebody who can find the funniest thing to post on every talk or when something goes terribly wrong, the community comes together and laughs about it instead of there being an awkward silence.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that it's a way cooler way to do
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's super interesting. It's really hard to, I think, as you mentioned earlier, we're trying to artificially recreate the things that
it.
we
Yeah.
know, instead of embracing the things that are great about online streaming, the things that were kind of awkward about
Yeah.
conferences, right? Like, you know, you had to choose before, right? Like if you wanted to like listen to the talk or like
Yeah.
go to the hallway track, like you had to make a decision. You couldn't like just sit in the
Yeah.
talk and then chat with your homies about the talk or like
Right.
whatever else seemed interesting or play your sound effects or like throw your memes. Like
Yeah.
and it's a much more like I guess even if it's not collaborative between, you know, the person speaking and the people in chat, um, it is like a much bigger like experience, right? Like even if they can't
Yeah.
respond directly to what's happening, having that collaborative environment, that kind of like event, is exciting. And you know,
Right.
it is something we should be kind of like chasing as we create these new event places.
Yeah, I'll even say that sometimes the streaming being 20 seconds off,
Hmm.
is still okay, but you kind of, as a speaker, I always enjoyed getting some feedback from my audience. I
Yeah.
enjoyed looking at them, seeing a nod, saying a joke, and then seeing a smile. And with a chat, you could do that with an emoji in a second. But if my talk was recorded, I understand it saves the sanity of the
Sure.
conference organizer, but it also it costs a little bit.
Yeah.
Costs a little bit there. Now I can go there and be at my own talk and troll myself. And so maybe I am leaning in the right way there, by doing things that you could never do if you were giving a talk live. And I think that's the cool thing, is like we have to find these things that the computer gives us, that we wouldn't have there, rather than trying. I promise you, so many people didn't get the right code typed in, or the site crashed at the wrong
Yeah.
time, and they just said no one's going to know, and they just closed it out,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
didn't even go to a conference they were going to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's happening. I see numbers from day to day of certain people and certain conferences that in attendance had 3,000 people. They go online where it's worldwide and it drops to hundreds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's you know it's definitely interesting, and I think that it changes the way that you need to run these events too. I mean, like even right now, this is the first time we've ever tried to like go live, and we're like
Yeah.
streaming,
Yeah.
but also, you know, I've never had to like try to manage a conversation and then also like chat at the same time, and so I'm just not today. But
Right,
like
right, right.
you know, having that person who's like sitting there kind of like, you know, picking up the trends, like seeing, you know, what should be talked about, and then like passing that to, you know,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
the guest and the host. You know, having that third person really does help facilitate a lot of these things and kind of make it
You're
feel a lot
right.
more cohesive.
I actually did a, video cast back in 2013. We only did about 6 episodes, before the technology actually went away. It was all about, but it was a lot of fun. We had one of my friends was technically set up as the cameraman, and was able to control which screen had
Oh,
focus,
cool.
who was talking. So it kind of had like that movie J cut and L cut style. And another aspect of it is that when the chat showed up, it was pre-digested questions and chat
Nice. Yep.
information.
Yep.
So I think that, like, what's funny is, how they say you can't go to college for the jobs that are going to be available in a decade.
Right.
It's kind of like this. It's like we're making up the new rules as we go.
Yeah, that role of producer is just like critical now. Like I think
Yes.
everything, you know, there's been a lot of opportunities, you know, when things aren't live to kind of have that that gap in between, right? Where you do the recording and then
Yeah.
you do the editing and then you put it onto the internet and then you deal with comments and all that kind of stuff. And now all that happens at once, and like it's just too much for one brain to really like
Oh
process
yeah.
altogether.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. As well, as our project manager, Jed, says, "Oh, good. Now I'm half-assing two tasks."
Absolutely.
Multitasking. Yeah.
Well, thank you for this. This was super fun. I'm glad that we got to
Yes.
talk about this because it's something that I'm trying to figure out now for React podcast because it's like I didn't think about it before because it's like, oh, whatever. It's a you know audio show, but like people who kept coming on kept asking me like, oh, is this gonna be like live stream? Because it's just becoming like more and more the
Yes.
norm. And I thought, what the hell? Let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes.
As a host, I think it's really awesome. And I mean, for instance, look, I mean, if I need to turn into
a glowing monster at any moment. And it's kind of nice. Like this could really emphasize some stupid point I'm trying to make.
Oh man,
uh,
our listeners are in for a treat this time. It's a very different episode today. I love it.
yes, indeed.
So I want to talk with you. This is just a hard cut, just a straight departure from
Yeah,
kind of what we've been
sounds
talking
good.
about. But you've been doing a lot of cool stuff in AI,
Thanks.
and
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to get your perspective on it because I think that you, as a developer, as someone who's doing a lot of React and React Native, have
Hmm.
a lot of empathy for how
Yes.
concerning or uh, how big like AI and machine
Yeah.
learning and all this kind of stuff is for those of us who just identify as designers or front end engineers or whatever. Um,
Right.
so I guess tell me a little bit about kind of like how you think about it as someone
Yes,
who's been doing a
absolutely.
lot of front end type stuff.
Well, I can tell you, I hated AI. I straight up hated it. I hated it. I made a game back in the day where we would play, and you would have two people, and you just hand the mouse one to another. It was a game that we saw at an arcade, and we were like, "That's really cool. We can make that." Went back home. Me and my friends, we made that game, and then we said, "Okay, well now it's time to make it so that you can play." Like handing the mouse back and forth. It's just stupid. It's like time to fix it. And then I can tell you, I started learning about the Minimax algorithm and AI and a bunch of stuff. I was like, uh, dumpster fire. We're going to write the network code and a website so that you could find other players online. And instead of writing AI, because it was just, I mean, just looking at it was bad. We wrote networking code and a website so that you could join another person and wait in a game and then play the game against another person.
Oh, cool.
And that was way easier and way more fun and way more rewarding
Yeah,
than writing the Minimax algorithm, which I know is like the basics of like board game control.
sure.
But I didn't, I was not amused. I was not entertained. I was not okay with it. It sounded like a lot of data management. And so for a long time, I did not enjoy AI, and also neither did the world,
Yeah.
to be fair. To be fair, no one actually cared about it for a long time until recently. It started doing things that no one has ever done before.
Yeah.
And now my brain's back in. Like I'm like, what? You can do that with AI? Uh, oh, I'm going to try on, what would I look like with purple hair? Well, I can pull out Photoshop and kind of see with some really bad skills, or I
Yeah.
could pull up the hair dye app and instantly change between 15 different hair dyes and say like, oh, purchase button, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's super cool where we're going, and that got me. That
Yeah.
just got me. I was hooked again.
It is interesting because I think maybe something that differentiates like or is a dividing line for a lot of people that are identify as technologists are like kind of just like raw programming or like computer science.
Yeah,
Like there's a grouping of people there, but then there's some people who got into programming because it was the best way to make a product, right? And I
yeah.
think that
Hey, you wanted to do something.
yeah, exactly. And I think that this, it sounds to me like you kind of identify as that second group
Hmm.
where it's like
Yep.
I get excited about the things that I can make. I get excited about the
Yeah.
possibilities, and like the tools themselves are like, yeah, it's cool. I'll get excited about learning it, but like I need that focus, that
Yeah.
goal that helps me like actually utilize the technology in an interesting way.
Yes. That 100%. If I couldn't find a real world scenario for how I would use some kind of mathematical thing in school, I would fail that test. So I always took longer than everybody because I had to go find out why I
Yeah.
needed to understand what tangent was. Like, what the hell is going on here? Cosine, like, and they're just, oh, you just memorize this. I could never get on board with that. I am an avid memory person, and the trick to that is caring about everything that I memorize.
Mm.
And if you gave me something I didn't care about it, that's it. It's over.
You're done.
It's out of my brain.
Well, I feel like you found a good problem in identifying whether or not someone was or was not Nick Cage.
Yeah, that was the most important thing that I probably did for humanity.
I
Probably.
think so. Well, I mean, because I mean, let's be honest. Nick Cage is an elusive being.
He's trying to steal the Declaration right now. I bet it. It's just they're making national. So funny story about that, by the way. When I so this is a real thing. This is a real actual thing that's been made.
But it's Nick or not? Is that?
Yeah, nickornot.com. And I first did it in React Native on like the native framework for iOS on Core ML. And I was failing left and right. But here's the thing, what was it? The Hot Dog Not Hot Dog app from Silicon Valley. That was a real React Native app. That was a real thing. And so I was like, are you kidding me? If I learned AI, I can make stupid things like this. And I said, okay, here's your challenge, Gant. Learn AI and find out if somebody's Nicolas Cage or not. And I said this as a joke to Jason Langsdorff and a couple other people at a conference. And they're like, well, now you have to do it. You have to build that. And that talk that you're giving in September, that's your talk. That's what you're going to do. I was like, oh, no. So from there, I took so many classes and certificates and took the longest route known to humankind. It was but I failed my way to success. And absolutely, I had a blast. This was so much fun. And I printed out a giant Nicolas Cage head that I would hold over people and then use the app to see whether it was working or not.
Amazing.
I had so much fun. I submitted the app to the App Store and it got rejected.
I'm sure.
The reason was they said it was completely useless. And I submitted it back with a picture of like the App Store and the Illuminati symbol next to one another. And I told them, I was like, of course you're trying to keep this national treasure out. And then they let it in.
No, they did.
They did. I don't know.
Is it still there today?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the app's still on the App Store. And there's a website that does a different. And so you could use nickornot.com, upload any photo, and in real time, you just check it out, see if it is Nicolas Cage or not.
You got to go buy or download that app right now. I don't know if you make money off of it or not, but
no. That was a purely for a conference talk. And the way to make money off of it is, hey, y'all, if you want to learn about AI or if you need some AI added to your product that's probably a little bit less useful than Nicolas Cage or not, let me know. Our company can build that for you, amongst many other fun things.
Oh man! So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the main chunks of like. I know that there's like a big difference between like I know nothing about this, and
and that's not your fault. It's not your fault. PhD students pop out of the woodwork to tell you that you need to go take a giant course from MIT or Stanford. And, I respect everybody that can do the math behind this. But that's the path I went, and it was not the right path. There's totally shortcuts.
Okay.
Totally.
So what are the main parts of it? Because I know that like AI and machine learning like are kind of like they've started to divide that I guess the branding of that a little bit, or maybe reinforcing it now that like a lot of those have become like buzzwords. And like, so what is the, when you're talking about this kind of stuff, what are you specifically talking about?
So AI is just super classic. Anything that's emulating some kind of biological intelligence through machinery. And you can make a video game character. As a matter of fact, most games are programmed by people to their skill sets to say like, look for this, do
Yeah.
that. It's the giant if then blocks of actually writing AI.
Like when I
And
go into Fortnite, it's gonna like
yeah,
put a lot of bots in there that are like pretty crappy at the game to like help me like feel better about
yeah.
myself.
Like just you could just write stuff like that, and that's just AI. But the cool thing that happened was someone said, take a look at our brains. They've these neurons that fire and they're reinforced, and there's this giant graph network, this feeding network of sort of like this balanced decision, and it can be trained over time from the things that we see and the things that we do and the chemicals that are released. And then someone said, like, we could kind of build something like that where the machine learns from the data rather than explicitly being programmed by a person.
Hmm.
And that, under the umbrella of AI, is an entire section called machine learning. And so
Interesting.
machine learning is this concept of sort of. Did you ever see war games? It's
No.
like, oh, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna need your nerd card. I'm gonna have to pass that right through this Zoom in a second. But there's where the game.
I'll make it up. I promise. I promise.
Please watch that. They have this one scene where he says he sets the number of players to 0, so it actually learns from playing itself. And that's essentially like that moment from this movie in the 80s is like a great way of showing this concept that we are now in a world where data is everywhere.
Hmm.
I have so much data. Do you want volcanoes on Mars? I have the data set for it. I have you. What do you want? And we have drone data sets and labeled this, and a lot of people themselves label their own data and then release it to the world. And so here we are with this data-rich environment. We're then hit with this. Our CPUs are now accelerated by GPUs, so we can handle these extremely large linear algebra calculations in microseconds. And you combine all that data with all these GPUs, and you start getting this superhuman like performance on things that you would never ever have an algorithm do before because you needed all this information. It's there now. Throw data at it and it gets smarter. Okay, you're done. And that's the beauty of machine learning. And here's a good trick to it, by the way, I'll say, is that you're no longer limited by the programmer. You're no longer limited by that. You're limited by what data you have.
Interesting.
So if I got a PhD in English and I wrote Grammarly, and you said, good job. We love Grammarly. Good job with your PhD in English and your coding skills. Can you go do that in Russian now? I'm like, no.
Interesting.
No, I'm not going to go do that in Russian. But if I taught Grammarly with 10,000 English books, and then we load up 10,000 already electronic Russian books, and it learns Cyrillic, I didn't have to teach it anything.
Yeah.
And this is where the power of machine learning is really kind of unfolded since 2015.
So it's almost,
that we're beating humans.
Yeah. So it's like in traditional kind of programming environments that like we're comfortable with, like I'm thinking about like a database, right? And it's like we are the classifiers of information, like the developer, yes, or the human part of it. Like we say this type of information is this type of thing. We're going to store it in this way, whatever. But it sounds like machine learning is kind of the opposite, where you just store data and then the machine becomes the classifier. Is that kind of the way that
to a certain
works?
degree? Yeah. And so there's this thing called a model, which is just a function. It's just a function. We're going to call it a model, but hey, coders, it's a function. And what happens is the model is a magnitude smaller of this. It is the pattern recognition algorithm.
Okay.
Is what ends up being in there. And so you can have terabytes of, pictures of poison ivy and pictures of not poison ivy. And that's it. That's all you have. Poisonivyornot.com. Buy it while it's available. And so you have all this information. And if I were to code that wouldn't be terabytes worth of stuff. I would have to kind of figure it out. But I would have to tell it the patterns and the characteristics, and I would code all this stuff, and it would take me a lot of time and a lot of energy. But if I tell it to look through and identify the patterns that most scale something towards poison ivy and the things that are immediately declassifying it as not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just let the machine run on my computer for 2 weeks, running through my GPU. What comes out of that, as long as hopefully everything's been properly balanced, is a properly weighted graph of data that when I put the right things in, the right things come out the other side. And that's it. It's basically, and that graph is a set of neurons, a deeply connected neural network. And I just via math just put information in and the correct information comes out. Now, everybody with a PhD just fainted on a couch.
Well, fortunately, there's no
that.
PhDs that listen to this show. I don't think.
But it's true. It's like, but I hate to say it, but like that's all it is. It's a function.
Yeah.
I've trained a function that if I give you this photo, you say true or false if it's this thing or another.
Yeah.
We could stop making the language so difficult and inapproachable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like anyone who listens to this show week in and week out is probably not an academic if they have to listen to me every week.
Well, I'm ready to duke it out if they are.
So, this is really interesting, and I'm curious now. You know, you'd mentioned that like the model is just a function. So, does that make the models like transportable in the same way that functions are? So, like, if you wanted to have, you know, an app that continued to gain new capabilities, like, you know, if you wanted to extend Nick or Not to include other Nicks, like Nick Offerman or you know, whatever, are these functions able to like continue to be like learned and developed, and then I guess are they transportable almost like npm modules where you can just like update to the new model and you're good to go?
Exactly. It's a little bit like Stack Overflow, where somebody almost answered exactly your problem and you just need to modify it a little bit for yours. So in the world of machine learning, they call this transfer learning. If I were to take my poison ivy or not app, and then I wanted to do something, let's not even move it very far. I want to know if something's a cucumber, you know, plant or not, something like that. Now, I wasn't trained to do that, but the layers that were trained, the aspects and the lines, from the most fundamental aspect of it, it's just figuring out on the first layers how to find all the horizontal lines, how to find all the vertical lines, what kind of colors are more important than another, and then later on it digests these things into more refined specific things. But if I just take this deep layered network, almost all the time I could chop off one final layer, the one where it classifies it.
Okay.
It says, I've gotten all this data. I'm pretty sure I'm looking at poison ivy. I cut that off and put a new one in its place. I don't have to go back and train with terabytes of data, and I don't have to train for a week. I train with 100 examples for an hour, or even less. Honestly, it's probably easier to say less, but I don't want to overpromise on that. But you've got that for an hour, and then now you've got something that can identify if something's cucumber. And they say, you know what? I want to move on. I want to tell the difference between cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Funny enough, you don't throw away that model. You might need to cut off 2 layers and just kind of go back a little bit, retrain a little bit further back. And it'll find that out within an hour as well. The truth is, like, identifying what certain things are, you can repurpose a lot of this stuff. So the interesting thing is these advanced models that are coming out of Google Brain, and a lot of the cool stuff that's coming out there, the stuff that's out in the open, you can resort to using server farms worth of information and then making it do something silly. Like, I guess I could have used that for Nicolas Cage or not.
That's really motivating, I think, for me, because I think my whole hang up with machine learning is just like, oh, well, I don't want to, like, I'm not interested in actually training a thing, right? Because the feedback loop is super low. Like you mentioned, weeks, right? For certain models to kind of form. And like, that sounds like not super fun for me. But when you talk about this, where you can actually share the models and you can just like kind of like pull off a model and actually like use that to make like nickornot.com, like, you know, I can, you know, maybe extend that to do other nicks. Like, this is, that part is fun. Like the code sharing and kind of like sharing a model for something and see what people do with it. Like, that sounds super exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of things coming up now that are specifically geared towards making it even easier. There's some
Nice.
stuff called auto ML, which will help you identify the ability of like what kind of model would really fit your problem and how much should you really cut off, and upload your CSV file and then collect results.
Yeah.
And I know that all the PhD people are like, you can't just do that. It's not a golden goose egg. It kind of is, and I kind of do, and it kind of works. So, if I can get to 93% accuracy, and I need to go get my PhD to get to 96% accuracy, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'll sit here at 93. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Well, good,
So,
because for our stuff, it's like it doesn't. I think that's the big difference between like academic stuff and kind of like what we
yeah,
do. It's like we're just having fun, or maybe we want to augment
yeah,
something a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. The expectations aren't that it's going to be like 100% accurate, but like we
yeah.
can use it to kind of improve our user experiences, just kind of like our day-to-day experiences. Cool
Because
stuff
yeah,
like
exactly. What's the alternative, man? Is it go do it all yourself?
right,
I
right.
think I'm okay with 4% error. Like we had this one client, and so I think I can mention this, where they wanted to do facial recognition, so that way they only sent you pictures of your kid. you know,
Okay.
like so like you didn't have to stare at a bunch of photos of other people's kids to find your kid, during these events. You just get photos of your kid mailed to you. That what? Okay, you get one photo in 100 that's not your kid. Oh, okay. You
Sure.
know, I'll live my life.
Yeah,
And
like
the truth is,
it is
we
a
didn't
little
even
creepy
have
though
that
when you
happen.
hang that one up, though, when you put that one on the wall.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that one being over the picture of your kid, by the way, on the mantelpiece, saying like with like "Wish you were here"
oh
written
man.
next to it, and some the don't do that. I found out that tends to upset the kids.
That reminds me, I mean, just quick aside, that reminds me like when I was growing up, my parents bought like one of the model homes, and it came with picture frames everywhere, like on the walls and stuff, with like random people, and we just left them like that for the longest time, and we just come up with these random ass stories about
I
who
love
they
this.
are.
I love this. Oh, dude, that is epic.
Yeah, it only got better as we started to like feed in just like a couple pictures of ourselves, right? And they're like, wait, who the hell is this guy?
Wait, you need to like add the barcode on top of your pictures of your real family
Yeah, yeah.
with like the frame dimensions are still in there. So it looks like you're just the stock photos, but those are the real people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, we're
I
getting
love it.
kind of to the end of our time
Yes.
here, but I wanted
Yeah, I'm
to.
sorry. I could nerd out
Oh,
forever. This is
totally.
this is always fun. So
I mean,
yeah,
we'll have to do this again because this was great. But
yeah.
I know that you've been doing a lot of work on helping people learn ML. So where can people go
Yes.
to find your work, to learn ML from you, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I did an entire course on how to do this in JavaScript at academy.infinite.red. There's a course there that's 100% free. I would totally get that one. It's basically how to get past all the AI buzzwords in 5 days.
Nice.
So AI demystified in 5 days. Free course, comes with a little certificate you can put on your CV and kind of make yourself a little bit. Hey, I got this certificate. And then, or you just juice up your LinkedIn if you're addicted to certificates, right? Have fun. 5 days, you got it. The other one is way more intense on just sort of like saying, you don't know anything about AI, but you understand web. Let me get you started and let's start building some cool stuff together. And that's a 3-week course that we sell.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
that one, and I tell you what I'm going to do. After this, I'm going to send some free course codes, and you can do a giveaway on your either on the show, or you could do it during some of the tweets here and there.
Oh,
So
perfect.
that way, y'all better listen to this and some other stuff, because there'll be some free codes coming up, and so that'll be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That'd be super fun. I'd love to kind of share that with them, and maybe we'll do kind of the first round to anyone who hung out with
Yeah.
us in chat for this
Ooh, good
this
call.
live stream. Um,
Nice.
yeah. Well, hey, this has been a pleasure. Where can people find more about you as you kind of
Yeah.
explore ML on the internet?
Yeah. Well, I have all my talking stuff on my website at gantlaborde.com. If you go there, you can find my Twitter, which is Gant Laborde. You can find all the conference talks. You can find all the fun stuff. You can find all these stupid avatar things I have of me, like shooting lasers out of my eyes and a bunch of others, really fun stuff. So you could really poke around that site, and it'll be fun. So it's gantlaborde.com. And then if you want to, definitely if you want to check out some of the cool stuff we're doing as a company, because we're doing stuff in React Native, and AI time, and design and UX. We've really stepped it up over there. So if you go to infinite.red and sign up for our newsletter there, you'll kind of see some more of our sellable tasks, which I think are equally as amazing. They won't tell you where Nicolas Cage is, though. So just be sure to subscribe to both.
Yeah. Got it. If you want all the content, you want the full experience, you gotta go both.
Exactly.
Cool. Hey, Gant, thank you so much for making the time to be on the show. I really appreciate kind of all you're doing to help us learn to demystify ML. And then it's just, always fun talking here with you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Happy to. I enjoy these nerd-like conversations, and who knows, maybe next time I'll have even more crazy streaming hardware to play with.
More sound effects, more visual effects. Bring it on.
Sounds good.
Cool. See you again.
All
right. Good work.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Nice. We did it. That was good.
Fun. That's fun. I'm glad that we finally got to do this. I know we've been chatting about it for a while, and just the whole world. It's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm glad that, we still find time for stuff eventually.
Yeah. Well, and this is, I mean, I think this has been fun. I mean, I think the podcast has really given me what I guess what I want from a conference, right? Like I want to sit down with somebody and just like chat their ear off for an hour and a half. And
exactly. Dude, the virtual hangout is missing, like lunch.
Yeah.
So many conferences, like you get sat at a table at lunch and you get like this breakout room for a moment. Of course you got like one to talk to, but you have other people who might be talking about something, you overhear it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that this part's existing, and you building things like this is fantastic, and helping keep people connected, because we need it this year.
Well, I really hope that maybe some of these, as I kind of like get past my hangups and maybe like go into a little bit more streaming, that we can I guess maybe have a little bit more of that like kind of like digital like lunchtime conference conversation. I think that could be cool.
Absolutely. We could pull up like demos, some visual stuff you can't normally do in podcasts, and like show some fun things. I'm always like, check this out, flipping my laptop around conferences.
Awesome.
That would be really awesome.
I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably send anyone who, has stuck around in like chat up to this point, or is like just checking in on like YouTube stuff, that I would just like, I'll just tell them to like DWM one of us, and we can kind of like get, get them a code or something like that for.
Yeah, I'm actually going to send you some codes right now.
Okay, cool.
So, and I'm going to send you the audio file. So
perfect.
Expect the audio file, and let's do 5 codes now.
Okay.
And because and then you could always ask for more of these codes, by the way.
Yeah.
I have no problem. I'm not that person who's like, oh, these need to sell. Like they need to hold value.
Sure.
And I'm fine with that. But if I doubt very highly that, someone's like, hey, I'm about to give Gant money, you'd be like, no, here's a code. That's not going to happen. So I can give you as many codes as you want.
Cool. Perfect.
Awesome, man.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
You got it, dude. Talk to you soon.
See you later.
Cheers.